He likes his omegas sweet as candy, and I'm a bartender who smells like whiskey, smoke, and resistance. He said I smelled like a bad decision. I told him he looked like one I might just make. The first time I met Eli Marston, he walked into my bar like he owned the world, or at least like it owed him something expensive. The kind of alpha who didn't just demand attention, he absorbed it. Italian suit, dark hair like ink spilling into water, a smile that melted inhibitions and raised red flags. I was just wiping down the counter, same as every night, same as always, smelling of bourbon, old regret, and the faint bitterness of cloves from the cigarette I wasn't supposed to smoke behind the bar. I was an omega, yeah, but not the kind you curled up with. I was the kind you argued with, the kind who didn't want to be saved. And definitely not the kind that got picked up by someone like Eli. But he didn't seem to get the memo. Name? He asked that first night, sliding into the stool across from me like we were in some noir film. I didn't bother looking up. Bar's name is Rick's, I said. Yours. I looked at him then. I shouldn't have. Because his eyes were that lethal shade of soft-like, he was already imagining what I looked like pressed against a wall, moaning his name. Weston, I muttered. He grinned. Weston. Not sweet. Not soft. Definitely not candy. Nope. I bite. And for reasons I still can't explain, that made him laugh, this soft, honest thing I didn't expect from someone like him. The kind of laugh you only give to someone who surprises you. He came back every night that week. Then the next. Always sat at the same stool. Always ordered something different, like he was trying to guess what I'd serve him if he stopped asking. We didn't talk much. Just glances. Questions half-asked. Smiles like challenges. A game with no rules, just tension. And then, one night, I snapped. You know I'm not gonna sleep with you, right? He didn't flinch. I'm not trying to sleep with you, Weston. Bullshit. Eli leaned in, close enough to feel the warmth of him. I want to know what made an omega like you stop trusting anyone who looks at you too long. I laughed bitterly. You rich alphas always think you can dig people out of the dirt and call it love. He stared at me for a long time, then said something I still hear when I close my eyes. I don't want to dig you out of the dirt, Weston. I just want to sit there with you until you feel safe. My scent was always sharp with distrust. Not the usual sweet or floral omegas wore proudly. Mine was earthy, burnt, defiant. People said I carried pain in my smell. Eli never said that, but he noticed it. He noticed everything. He never touched me, not even when I wanted him to, especially when I wanted him to. Instead, he started walking me home after shifts, even though I lived just 2 blocks away. He learned I took my coffee black, no sugar, that I hated Sundays, that I never let anyone call me West. One rainy night, I let him in, to my apartment, and just a little, into my head. He looked around the place like it was a museum of silence. No photos, just books, an old record player, 2 mugs, no lies. Where are your scent blockers? He asked gently. I pulled my sleeves down to hide the marks. Don't use them anymore. Let people smell what they're afraid of. Eli didn't reply, just walked over and made us tea, chamomile and smoke. That night we didn't kiss, but he stayed on my couch until morning. Like a promise. People talk. Bartenders hear it all. Rumors swirled about Eli, that he was engaged to a soft, proper omega back in Connecticut, that his family had lined him up for politics, like all pure-blood alphas before him, that he was only slumming it in this town for thrill. I asked him one night when the air between us turned sour. You got someone back home, Eli? He was silent. I'm not your secret, Eli. I'm not your rebellion. Still silence. So I walked away. He didn't follow. For 2 weeks, he didn't come to the bar. I told myself I didn't care. Poured whiskey like I was punishing the bottle. Ignored the ache in my chest like it was just heartburn. But the truth is, I missed him. I missed his laugh, his tea, his presence like a question I didn't know how to answer. Then he showed up. Hair wet, tie gone, shirt wrinkled. I left, he said. What? I walked away from all of it. The omega, the plan, the family. Told them I found something real. I scoffed. What, you think I'm your savior now? No, he said softly. I think you're mine. It wasn't easy after that. Alphas whispered behind his back, called him names, said he'd gone feral. Some said he was bewitched by my scent like I was a curse, not a choice. My landlord doubled the rent when he found out I was dating a high-status alpha. Said I could afford it now. Punched him. Eli got a job at a community center, helping Omega kids who ran from home, who didn't fit molds, who smelled too much like anger and too little like sugar. He smelled like me. We built a life in defiance of everything we were told we couldn't have. But love isn't soft. Not when the world is hard. One night, Eli didn't come home. I waited, pacing, calling. His scent wasn't on the wind. And then the hospital called. Beaten. Bruised. Hate crime. They'd cornered him outside the center. Said he was corrupting Omegas. I didn't cry. I burned. Sat by his side for 2 days. No sleep. Just rage and devotion. When he opened his eyes, first thing he whispered was, "You still bite." I kissed his broken lip. "You bet I do." We didn't get a fairy tale, but we got something better. He recovered. Slowly. I made soup. Badly. He started writing again. I started trusting again. We adopted a stray cat. Named her Clove. On our 1-year anniversary, we stood in our tiny apartment, dressed in old clothes, holding chipped mugs of tea, and he said, "You're still not sweet, Weston." I smiled. "Neither are you." And in a world that tried to shove us into boxes, bind us to roles, bury us in expectation, we loved like fire, unapologetically, untraditionally, unbreakably, because he liked his Omegas sweet as candy. But he stayed for the one who smelled like whiskey, smoke, and resistance. And I stayed for the alpha who finally learned to sit with me in the dirt without ever trying to clean me up. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.